If you clicked on this video, it's because something in your subconscious has already picked up on a pattern that your blue pill mind is still resisting. Maybe it's that girl you met on Tinder who mentioned 3 different exes in 5 minutes of conversation. Or it could be the one you're dating who always has a dramatic story about how the last guy was a narcissist and didn't know how to appreciate her. Or even worse, it could be the one you're dating who, when you stop to think about it, discovers she has more exes on her list than you can count. If any of these situations struck a chord, then you need to wake up now. Because what I'm about to reveal to you in the next few minutes could save you from years of being an emotional buffer for a woman who sees relationships as disposable cards. It could save you from becoming another dusty trophy on the shelf of someone who turns men into collectible episodes of a never-ending series. I've been studying the psychic mechanisms that govern female behavior for over a decade, applying classical psychoanalysis to the relationship patterns of modern society. And what you'll hear here isn't relationship coach whining or love guru chatter. It's pure red pill psychoanalysis, Freud dissected and applied to the raw reality of contemporary relationships. And before any white knights start crying in the comments, I'm generalizing, listen up. We're not here to whitewash toxic female behavior or pretend certain truths don't exist in today's dating market. We're here to map patterns, identify red flags, and give you the tools to avoid falling into emotional traps that will drain your energy, time, and sanity. Because the reality, brother, is that there's a specific type of woman who lives collecting men like trophies and discarding them when they're no longer useful for her psychological games. And if you don't know how to spot the signs, you could spend years being manipulated by someone who's completely unaware of the damage they're causing in men's lives. So stick with me, because in the next few minutes I'm going to teach you how to decipher the codes of female behavior, how to read body language, how to understand the unconscious strategies she uses, and, most importantly, how to protect your masculine energy from those who don't deserve even a second of your time. Let's start with the question every red pill man should ask himself. Why do some women always have an endless list of exes? Why does she always have a soap opera to tell about every relationship that went wrong? And why the hell is it never ever her fault? If you've ever felt that sinking feeling in your stomach when she started ticking off her exes like a restaurant menu, it's because your male instinct has picked up on something your blue pill social programming is still trying to rationalize. And I'll tell you a truth that Freud knew over a century ago. There's a specific psychic structure behind this compulsion to collect men. Like emotional Pokemon. The ex-collector woman isn't a victim of circumstance, bro. She's not some poor thing who haven't found the right guy yet, or who always attracts the wrong type. She's the product of a neurotic makeup amplified by the modern culture of instant gratification that condemns her to repeat the same destructive patterns endlessly. The first thing you need to understand is that this girl doesn't collect men by accident. It's not bad luck in the dating market, it's not hard to find a good man these days. And it's definitely not because every man is the same. There's a neurological pattern, a compulsion to repeat that Freud would call destiny neurosis, amplified by the modern culture of instant gratification. But here's the problem, brother. She never solves anything because she never takes responsibility for anything. In her mind, shaped by the modern "I'm always right" mentality, the problem is always the other person. Always. And that's when you need to turn on your red pill radar, because she's a master at convincingly selling this narrative. When you meet this woman, she doesn't come to you saying, "Hi, I'm a walking red flag who will use you emotionally and then discard you." No, she has a well-rehearsed script, perfectly adapted to the discourse of modern female empowerment. She says she's unlucky in love, that men don't understand her, or that she has a type and it's always the wrong one. Pay attention to this narrative, because it's the first red light flashing in your face like a neon sign in a nightclub. She constantly positions herself as the victim, as if relationships were something that happens to her, not something she builds together. It's the externalization of blame, in its purest form amplified by the modern victim mentality. And why is this so dangerous? Because it taps directly into the male protective instinct, which has been further amplified by the social pressure to be a gentleman. Men are socially programmed to want to save damsels in distress. It's the white knight syndrome that every beta carries in their social DNA, and she knows this better than you. The second sign you need to look for, and this one is crucial in modern dating, is how she talks about her exes. If they were all toxic, immature, controlling, narcissistic, or any other psychological label trending on social media, you need to do the math. What are the mathematical chances of a person finding only one problematic guy in the enormous dating market? The answer is 0.0. What happens is that she projects her own neuroses onto each relationship, turning a normal guy into the villain of her story. It's as if she has a mental filter that distorts reality to always fit the role of misunderstood heroine, perfectly aligned with the modern feminist narrative. And here's a detail most betas don't realize. She always has a cinematic version of every breakup. It's not just, "it didn't work out." It's always a complete production, with cheating, ghosting, emotional unavailability, and she's always the protagonist who gave her all but wasn't appreciated. The collector operates through what psychoanalysis calls pathological transference, amplified by the therapy chat culture that dominates modern dating. She transfers expectations, fears, and traumas from previous relationships to you. You become an emotional repository for all the frustrations she carries, even before you've done anything. Imagine the scene third date, and she's already comparing you to her ex. "It's good you're not as controlling as John," or "I hope you don't leave me hanging like Bruno did." It sounds like a compliment, but in reality, she's projecting red flags onto you that you've never even shown. It's a huge red flag. But why does she do this? Why this compulsion to always be in a relationship, even if it's to destroy it later? The answer lies in what Freud called the horror of emptiness, amplified by the modern culture of constant stimulation. She can't be alone because silence confronts her with issues she doesn't want to face. For this woman, being single isn't freedom. It's an existential crisis. That's why she jumps from relationship to relationship without ever processing the previous one. She's like an addict swapping one substance for another. What matters is not being without the drug that numbs the internal pain. Observe how she behaves on first dates. The collector has a supernatural ability to adapt to the profile of what she imagines you want, using all the tools of modern dating culture. If you like an intellectual woman, she'll appear quoting books she hasn't even read. If you value independence, she'll emphasize how strong and independent she is. If you demonstrate traditional values, she'll discover a sudden appreciation for family. It's what we call the false self in full action, perfectly masked by modern dating performance. A social mask she uses to capture your attention. And she's good at it, very good. Because she's had years of practice perfecting this technique with every guy she's ever encountered in the competitive modern dating market. And now comes the most dangerous part of contemporary dating. She's an expert in love bombing. In the first few months, you'll feel like the most desired alpha male on the planet. She'll bombard you with affection, attention, and validation that perfectly mimics what movies and TV shows have taught you true love looks like. Good. Morning messages, good night calls, constant availability, Instagram stories featuring you. You'll think, finally, I found a woman who values me amidst this toxic dating scene. But hold on, champ. If it was different for you, why wasn't it different for the dozen guys who came before? The truth is, you're not special to her. You're necessary. And there's a huge difference between these two things in the context of modern dating. You're special when someone chooses you for your unique qualities. You're necessary when someone uses you to fill an emotional void they can't resolve on their own, even with all the therapeutic resources available today. And this emptiness is an emotional black hole that not even modern therapeutic culture can fill. No matter how much love, attention, affection, and dedication you give, it will never be enough. Because what she seeks isn't within you. It's in a psychological wound that only she can heal. Over time, you'll realize she has a pathological need for drama, amplified by modern entertainment culture. A stable relationship bores her because it doesn't fit with what TV shows and movies have taught her love should be. She craves conflict and emotional turmoil because that's what modern media has conditioned her to recognize as true love. If you're a balanced man who offers emotional stability and genuine affection, you'll find that this makes her restless. She'll start creating problems where none exist, misinterpreting your actions and picking fights over trivial matters. It's not malice, it's a neurotic compulsion shaped by the modern addiction to drama. The collector also has a strange relationship with time, influenced by the culture of instant gratification. They dwell on the past, comparing you to your ex, or on the future, making grandiose plans to mask the anxiety of the present. They're rarely truly present in the relationship. You'll notice she has a hard time living in the moment. A romantic dinner becomes an opportunity to talk about her ex who also loved that restaurant. A movie night becomes a trip down memory lane to the time she watched that with Tyler. Her mind is always in the past or projecting future scenarios, never appreciating what you have now. Another pattern you'll notice is the speed with which she wants to make things official. She wants to get serious quickly, meet your family, move in together, define the future. It's not love, it's neurotic urgency amplified by the modern fear of being left behind. She needs to ensure you won't escape before she can tie you down emotionally. And when you show any resistance to this speed, she interprets it as a lack of commitment or insufficient love, using all the modern relationship vocabulary. For her, true love doesn't need time to be certain. It's all or nothing, immediate and intense, because that's what modern romantic culture has taught her. And when the relationship starts to show signs of wear and tear, then you'll see your true character emerge, shaped by modern individualistic culture. She'll start comparing you to her ex, always unfavorably. João never treated me like that. Bruno at least listened to me. Tyler was more attentive. You become the worst of them all, even though you gave her more love than any previous guy. It's a cruel but effective psychological strategy within modern relationship dynamics. It pits you against ghosts from the past, against idealized versions of relationships. You destroyed. And worst of all, you fall for it and start trying to prove you're better than your exes, entering a never-ending cycle of seeking validation. Emotional manipulation is the collector's favorite tool, fueled by the therapy talk that dominates modern culture. She knows exactly which buttons to push to make you feel guilty, inadequate, or desperate to regain her approval. It's a psychological game where the rules constantly change and you always lose. She uses techniques like the silent treatment when you don't do what she wants, emotional blackmail disguised as vulnerability, and the classic reversal where she accuses you of doing exactly what she's doing, using modern psychological terminology. If you question her behavior, you're toxic. If you ask for space, you don't really love her. If you show any jealousy, you're controlling and possessive. But the cruelest thing is how she ends relationships. She never takes responsibility, always using the modern vocabulary of breakups. It's always you who changed, who isn't the same person anymore, and who let her down. She rewrites the story of the relationship so that she's always the misunderstood heroine and you're always the villain who failed to appreciate the treasure you possessed. And he does it with such genuine conviction that you even begin to believe it's your fault, fueled by the modern culture of self-blame. That maybe you really didn't deserve someone so incredible. That maybe you really did change and let her down. It's sophisticated gaslighting, modern style, and then you become another ex in her collection. Another story to tell the next fool who will believe he's different. The cycle repeats endlessly because she never learns from her mistakes, protected by modern culture that often validates the female perspective without question. Most disturbingly, she genuinely believes her own lies, supported by modern narratives that rarely require female self-reflection. She's not a calculating sociopath. She's a neurotic who created a distorted narrative of reality to protect herself from the pain of looking within. To her, you were truly just another man who didn't know her worth. Her exes were all truly problematic. She truly is a victim of circumstance. because admitting that she's the common denominator in all these failed relationships would be devastating to the self-image that modern culture has taught her to maintain. If you've identified these patterns in the girl you're dating, you have two options: walk away or try to save her. I strongly recommend the former, not because she's a bad person, but because you don't have the emotional infrastructure to deal with the level of pathology she carries, even in the modern therapeutic environment that theoretically supports it. Real change only happens when she recognizes the pattern and seeks serious professional help. But to do so, she would have to accept that the problem lies within her, not with the men who have passed through her life. And this is a journey she needs to undertake alone, with the help of a qualified therapist, not a boyfriend who thinks he's her savior. Meanwhile, you have to protect your mental and emotional health in the modern dating landscape. Don't be seduced by the romantic idea of being the man who will fix her. You're not a therapist. You're a man who deserves a healthy relationship with a woman who's also working on her inner issues. Remember, standards don't lie in the modern relationship context. If she has a collection of exes and always has justifications for each breakup, if she never takes responsibility for her own relationships, if she bombards you with affection initially but then constantly compares you to others, you're not dealing with a woman who haven't found the right guy yet. You're dealing with a red flag who will use you to fill an emotional void and then discard you when she can no longer extract neurotic validation from you. Psychoanalysis isn't here to romanticize destructive behavior or justify hurtful attitudes. It's here to name, expose, and explain the mechanisms that operate behind social masks, because only those who understand the disease can prevent contagion. If this content helped you identify patterns you couldn't name, if it gave you clarity about situations that confused you in the modern dating landscape, then you understand the power of red pill psychoanalysis applied to real life. We don't romanticize, justify, or make excuses for toxic female behavior. This is raw psychoanalysis, unfiltered truth for men who want to understand the reality behind women's emotional games. Subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and share with that brother who needs to wake up to the matrix before it's too late.